Well, certainly I was aware of Raymond Williams' Keywords, which was published, I think, in 1976, but it hadn't filtered through to my consciousness probably until the early 80s. Always struck me as a really extraordinary work, and that they're almost these impeccable word portraits that he writes. But what's really important about them is he traces the history of the words, and he traces and illuminates the different meanings that those words have had across history. And it's extraordinary that it has a resonance now, and that this exhibition has been made having been inspired by it. Margaret Thatcher came to power in 1979, and the impact of her policies and her politics was felt almost immediately, but it also continued to impact more and more acutely throughout that decade. And we were still somehow, it felt, enjoying some of the vestige of the more liberated approaches we'd been able to muster during the 1970s and try to hold on to them during the 1980s. In 1980s Britain, I made a series of solo monologues that were primarily improvised and very simply presented.
The audience was vast. The audience stretched for miles. I was on the stage.
Plato's Chair, which I made first in 1983, takes the form of an existential monologue that is improvised, entirely improvised, in which I interrogate certain key words, such as representation, the repertoire, the soul, the void. And I made the performance just from one page of just words and questions that I wanted to talk about.
How I would really go about speaking about the next topic of this evening.
I mean, a very key part of making that body of work, which were these improvised monologues at the time, was discovering, much to my surprise, that I really enjoyed speaking, and I really enjoyed, as a woman and as a female performer, absolutely taking the time, really exploring certain aspects of language in public. I guess primarily through my sort of discovery of feminism, which would have been from the late 70s onwards, is again about taking space, occupying space and time, placing myself in front of a public, speaking directly to them, returning their gaze.
I want to do away with all this and all that and get back to where it all begins. Nothing, the void, emptiness.
I'm really excited to see this work in this exhibition because it's the opposite of pedantic. It is historicising the work, but in an exuberant way. When it really works, the ideas resonate as freshly now as they did then.